Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. With me today is Troy Brittingham.
You're Jeff.
And Chris Carroll, all the way out in the awful West Coast.
West Coast best. Still can't say it.
Oh, I thought you were like, TB&J! You had a reaction because you're a Philly guy.
The West Coast will never.
TB&J! We got our Philly cheesesteaks and our pretzels and our Johns and our water ice and goddamn clam chowder and Harvard University.
Speaking of water ice, that's something that I didn't realize was like a Philly name for it.
Oh yeah, it's Italian ice in the rest of the world.
Yeah, I was telling Tiffany about it. She was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What is water ice?"
It's also only water ice in like the Philadelphia region because my fiance is from the Appalachian Mountains and they call it Italian ice. And I was like, "Hey, let's get some water ice." And she was like, "What the fuck is water ice?" And I was like, "How do you not know what water ice is? It's the stuff at Rita's and shit." And she was like, "Oh, you mean Italian ice?" And I'm just like, "Shut the fuck up, I hate you." Anyway, guys, Lord of the Rings of Power is over. And in custom with the way we do things
Season 1.
At TB, yes, Season 1. There's definitely a Season 2. It's already been confirmed. It got confirmed ages ago. As we do tradition in this podcast, everything gets a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Troy, what'd you think?
Thumbs up with rings.
Chris, what'd you think?
It's a thumbs up because YouTube disabled the dislike button.
Oh.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. It's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs up.
We can't physically give thumbs down anymore?
It's an enthusiastic thumbs up.
YouTube, it's also a thumbs up from me. YouTube did not disable the thumbs down button, Troy, in case you don't actually know. You just can't see how many people disliked the
I
thing.
do know. That was a while ago.
That was a long time ago. It's ancient internet history at this point. So I think this show might be my favorite prequel property that's ever existed.
Ooh.
As far as like setting up an already established franchise.
Ooh.
And it had really, really big shoes to fill because Lord of the Rings is one of the best film trilogies of all time. It does not drop the ball at all between the beginning of Fellowship and the end of Return of the King. For the sake of this argument, we're going to pretend The Hobbit does not exist because, I mean, it doesn't as far as I'm concerned. But this entire series as a whole, all of these, I believe, 8 episodes. I believe this is 8 episodes. Correct me if I'm wrong, right,
Yep.
Chris?
It's 8 episodes.
Eight
This is
episodes?
the finale.
Yeah. This was just absolutely insane and wonderful, and I've loved every second of these episodes. I say I loved every second because that's just what I say. I didn't actually. There were complaints throughout the series, but
it's mostly seconds.
it's mostly second. Yeah, as a whole, it's a really, really good story, and it establishes all of these characters, who some of which you've only like. I say read about, but like in the Lord of the Rings books and in the movies, they're mentioned as like historical figures that kind of did a thing hundreds and thousands of years ago, and now here they are. Elendil is right there. Galadriel is right there. Elrond, Celebrimbor, everybody's right there. Fucking Halbrand, who saw that coming, huh? Not me.
Yeah,
Chris?
there was a lot of good twists this episode.
Oh, yeah. I think the most obvious one was the stranger turning out to be Gandalf.
So I thought that was funny because they started
We
off
all
the
called
episode,
that, like the first episode, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you shifted to the Saruman theory of just like, I just want it to be something wild.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be Gandalf because everyone was saying, "Oh, it's Gandalf."
Well,
It's like,
they
please
did
don't.
they did like a side that was almost like, here's gonna be the big twist. He's Sauron.
Yeah,
nah,
the
he's
fake out.
Nah, he's who you all thought he was. It's okay. This show's not gonna be that twisty. But Halbrand's Sauron, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh wait, shit, really?
It's
They
like
fucking
it's
gave
like
me
Borderlands
whiplash.
2.
Now,
It's like Borderlands 2, where you're like Handsome Jack's. You walk in, and Angel's like, I'm a siren, and then all of a sudden Handsome Jack's like, and my daughter, and you're like, okay, I saw the one coming,
And
but...
Roland's dead.
Yeah, I'm like, I saw one of them coming, but then
Yeah.
suddenly there was another one.
Suddenly there was a lot all at once, and it was ridiculous.
now they don't call out the stranger's name, so it's possible that he's one of the other Istari.
Yeah,
but
he's gonna be Gandalf.
I mean, yeah. But I mean,
he says, "Follow your nose." Doesn't Gandalf say that in
for the Fruity
Fellowship?
Chaser, he's actually.
yeah, I believe that Tony
Toucan.
Toucan says that instead.
Mm-hmm. That's who it's gonna be.
No, but I correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Gandalf says follow your nose, right?
I mean, it also makes sense of like this is why he really likes hobbits, and he always ends up trying to get Bilbo in on things, and just tries to get Frodo in on things.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely Gandalf, but they didn't say it's Gandalf, so
No, they
it
didn't
might
say it's Gandalf.
not
They
be.
called him a wizard.
Also, after this episode, for them to twist and have him become a bad guy eventually would be kind of annoying now.
Yeah, especially after he just stood up against those wizards that thought he was Sauron, and he fucking banished them to the Shadow Realm, I guess. Like, from shadows you came, from shadows which you'll return, or something. And then they just, like, disintegrate, almost?
I did think it was a weird choice to give him a dual disc, but then it kind of makes sense now in hindsight.
That's what that staff was. It was just a really
That's what it
fancy
was.
dual disc, and he summoned all
It was one
five
of the
pieces of
Millennium
Exodia.
items.
Yeah, the Millennium items. Oh my God, Yu-Gi-Oh was garbage.
I think there's a Millennium staff. How dare you?
No, Yu-Gi-Oh was garbage. I don't know why we ever liked that shit as kids.
Did you hear that the creator passed recently trying to save people drowning?
I did.
No, I didn't hear that. What the fuck?
Yeah. So he
A bunch of people were caught in a
Yu-Gi-Oh!
riptide, and he went out to try and save them and drowned in doing so.
Oh,
But I believe he saved everybody though.
I didn't hear about the status of the...
You know what it was? He didn't have the heart of the cards with him when he went out.
Jeff, I will
Riptide.
strike you down from here.
Also,
I will
further sad
hack
news.
into the fucking NORAD Defense Network and strike you with a tactical nuke.
Further sad news. Yesterday, because we are a movie podcast. Actor Robbie Coltrane, aka Hagrid, he passed away.
I
Really?
did also hear
Yeah,
that.
he passed away the other day. Yeah, it was all over Reddit. I think yesterday. So Robbie Coltrane is no longer with us.
More reason to not hang on to Harry Potter, but you know.
Well, I mean, Harry Potter's fine. J.K. Rowling is problematic. But also, who gives a shit what J.K. Rowling has to say about
No,
things?
and also if you give her more money, if you stop giving her money entirely, she'll still have more money than she'll ever need, so it's fine.
Yeah, the most famous
Buy
author
the
ever.
video game if you want the video game. I hear people are like yelling at people for buying the game, and I'm like,
She'll die off
You're allowed to-
eventually, alone.
Yeah, fucking. Oh god, I don't necessarily support Alan Moore and a lot of the things he says, but like Batman Year One was really good. Anyway, that's super off track. Chris, what was your favorite part of this episode? I don't talk to you very often, so I want to focus on you today.
I think we talk too often, but my favorite thing was
Spoken like a true hermit.
the multiple little twists that they gave with the stranger and Halbrand. The stranger is Sauron. No, he's not. Halbrand. I am Sauron. What?
Yeah, and they really like went a very long about way before he ever said he was Sauron. Like if he never said it and we just like assumed he was, I feel like that would have been enough for me, honestly. Especially after that reflection in the water with him and Galadriel, and he's got like the Sauron helmet on in the reflection. I was like, oh, cool, neat. Also, fucking, oh my god, his heel turn was it's everything I wanted from Corey in Halloween Ends.
Yeah, so
and
we
didn't
watched
get.
Halloween Ends yesterday. We did the podcast yesterday, and that it was weird because I was kind of like, oh, so this is how you do that.
Yeah, this is how you do a good guy turn bad guy. Great, awesome.
Now, one thing that they did deviate is like what character Sauron was using to infiltrate the elves to create the rings.
Is that actually like established lore?
Yeah, so Sauron took on the visage of somebody called Anatar and befriended the elves, especially Celebrimbor, and helped with forging the rings. So Halbrand is basically what that character is supposed to be.
Yeah, it seems so in retrospect. And Halbrand is not exactly that character, but like, unless you're like a super diehard ringhead, I feel like you don't actually know that.
I mean, yeah, there's going to be some people who are mad about that, but I
They're
feel like
mad about
as
the
a
fucking
whole,
black Harfoots and
but here's
elves.
the-
Like, come on.
Here's why it doesn't matter, because Anatar is not an actual character. It's just Sauron with a fancy name tag on.
I like to imagine Sauron like in the armor, and he's got like the glasses with nose and mustache, and just a name tag that says, "Hi, I'm not Sauron." And he's like, "Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here to help you with the rings."
That's
He's still in the
basically
armor.
what happened.
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
Your armor looks a lot like Sauron. Nope.
So, Chris, being the only one here who knows more than just the 3 basic movies of Lord of the Rings lore, so
Why do
they
you keep
used
saying
the
I
one-
know things? I don't know anything.
You know more than I
I
do.
have the
I'm not saying
wiki
you
open.
know
That's
things.
what's different.
Oh, okay. Great. So it's like Google with extra
Yeah, I
steps.
feel like we've gone 8 episodes in a row of Chris explaining that he hasn't read the books.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking Christ.
I
I could not be
I
more
was-
obvious.
always assume you have because I'm like, you read Ready Player One, and that's
No, I haven't. What
in
the fuck?
Wait, is that another book that I'm just like misremembering you read?
Jeff, are you okay?
Jeff
What is
just assumes
happening?
that you're way smarter than you are, Chris.
I assume you've done a lot more actual reading than you really have. That's all it is. I assume that you've read like Isaac Asimov and fucking George Orwell.
Chris, you've
shit.
directed
Oh.
Citizen Kane, right?
Well, actually, my theories on that is Jeff's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid theory, actually. I'm sure my fiance would agree. But so they obviously need to mine more mithril now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well, yeah.
Well,
And we also need to get the Balrog.
they made the 3 rings for the elves. They need to make the 7 rings for the
the 5
dwarves.
for the dwarves.
7.
Oh, is it 7? I thought it was 5.
Pretty sure it's 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
7
Yeah,
for the
because there's a
original
song at the
Dwarven
end that
Kings,
explains
right?
it. 7 to the Dwarven Kings, 9 to the men, which I only know because they literally put a song at the end of this episode
Yes.
that tells you that.
Yeah. 9 to the men doomed to die.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So they have to make more rings.
And then 1 for a big meanie who doesn't like people.
for the Dark Lord on his dark throne.
No, it was big meanie he doesn't like people. That's what he said.
Guys, there's a turn left universe out there where Galadriel says yes and is the queen of Middle Earth. And that I feel like that'd be an interesting book.
I mean,
might wanna
I'm
read that.
sure plenty of people in the fandom want Galadriel to become a Dami Mommy.
I don't know if I'd use those.
Nope, that's the exact
I
words.
think
That is what Halbrand had in his mind.
That was actually in the original script and they had to cut it.
Interesting.
It was in the rewrites.
Interesting. It does make me relook at like the entire series up to this point, and just be like, oh my god, like. I'm wondering, like, did they drop little Easter eggs, or did this completely come out of nowhere? Is it kind of like a really good Agatha Christie novel where I could have figured it out if I looked at all the puzzle pieces?
Well, I mean,
or is this just like a Knives Out where it's like, no, you don't know shit until the end?
Halbrand himself said, "Oh, I got this crest of the Southland Kings from a dead man. No, I
Yeah,
don't
he
want to
does
go
say
to
that.
Middle Earth. I want to stay here and become a smith. I am a bad
Really,
person.
really- He's
I have
really,
done
really good
bad
and beat
things
the-
in the past."
He beat the shit out of like 3 guys in an alleyway without help.
Yeah. Although, man,
He seems to know a lot about everything all the time, despite being just like a dude who is on the boat.
yeah, but how'd he get on the boat? What's Sauron been up to leading up to that boat? We need
He was on,
another
he was on
prequel
the
series.
he was on the swim team.
No, the Middle Earth swim team.
Though I am interested what his plan was with Mount Doom, where he himself got just fucking wrecked by. They said it was a lance wound, but I don't remember that part.
Oh, yeah, at the battle with the orcs. when
Yeah.
he got stabbed.
Yeah, where he got heavily injured.
He's dedicated to the bit.
So is Sauron like immortal?
I mean, pretty close too. I mean, he's not an elf, and he's said that he's like lived
I know
super long.
longevity is one thing, him living forever, but
Yeah.
like if you stab him, will he die?
Well-
would he have died from that wound if Galadriel didn't save him?
Well,
I mean,
would Gandalf have died if he got stabbed? Probably.
Yeah, you're probably right. Or is it one of those things where he just gets like reincarnated?
I mean, there's a lot of air quotes immortals in Lord of the Rings, and they all end up dying.
Yeah, that's pretty true. That's pretty true.
I mean, elves in general are basically already immortals in this world, so it's sort of you go based off of them most of the time. I feel like.
I'm surprised we didn't see a seal door.
Yeah,
Like
they're really dedicating to he definitely died, bro.
they're really trying
Take
to
my
like
word on it.
really make me think he died when he's the only character I distinctly remember from the movies of having like defeated Sauron at the end. Unless it's one of those like the fucking episode of Futurama where he's blaming his brother for stealing his life, but it turns out it was actually his brother's kid that he named after Fry. Do you remember that, Chris?
Yes.
I know you're the Futurama guy.
It's
I
very
know
sad.
you've seen Futurama.
Chris has never seen an episode of Futurama.
Chris hates that show,
Chris doesn't
actually.
even know what
I
Futurama
hate
is.
everything
Bender
that Matt
who?
Groening has done. That's a joke. I fucking love Futurama. I'm so happy that it's coming back.
You're also the guy who convinced me to watch Disenchantment on Netflix.
Yeah,
The
that's because
other
I'm a
thing
huge shill for Matt Groening and things that look like Futurama.
You excited for the reboot?
I just said that.
Actually, is it a reboot or is it?
It's just a
like
new season.
Okay, that's even better actually. Anyway, Isildur needs to come back unless they're really gonna fuck with the lore of established books and movies like real hard. It's one thing to tell us that Sauron infiltrated the elves as a different guy. It's another to tell us Isildur died and he's like it's a completely different dude now.
One thing that's interesting about Halbrand is like a few episodes into the show, you're just sort of like, yeah, he's the Aragorn. Like that's what he is. He's basically the same guy. And I was like, I kind of like this guy now. And you're like, yeah, because he's Aragorn. In hindsight, kind of not the. I mean that's the way they
No,
they used
Sauron's
him.
always the good guy.
That's true. Yes,
Aragorn was the bad guy in the originals. So him being the bad guy of this makes sense. He's still Aragorn.
Right.
All hail the Dark Lord.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
So
I also exclusively roll orcs when I'm doing D&D,
okay.
and I am racist against every other race.
Okay.
Mm.
All right.
Man, you'd fit well in
Bad guy.
basically most fantasy worlds, especially Elder Scrolls. Literally everybody in the Elder Scrolls is racist.
That's
That's
kind of true.
That's just facts. Everybody hates everybody else. It's why the elves like enslaved the Norse people for years with the doctrine. It doesn't matter. We're not getting into Elder Scrolls lore because that's gonna fucking spin everybody's head.
Damn it.
Chris, what? Looking back, what are your biggest gripes about this series?
Now that we've come to full fruition, I can't even say Theo because Theo's had a good arc.
Yeah.
It's like Prince Joffrey, who became King Joffrey in Game of Thrones. I love to hate him. He was a really good character at what he did.
I
mean,
think I would have liked a little bit more explanation or characterization of the three, I don't even know what to call them, women that was chasing the stranger.
Sure.
Yeah, the white people.
Very good classification.
I mean, yeah, the white people that were chasing the bearded man who is a wizard, and definitely definitely Gandalf. Follow your nose. When in doubt, follow
For
your
the fruity
nose.
taste that shows.
Why do you keep doing
It's
that?
just what he is. I'm just trying to tell you what the spoiler of the show is.
I've never heard that in my life.
What are you talking about? It's in every Fruit Loops commercial.
I've never heard that before in my life. That's not. Oop! There goes my.
See, your phone's even confused.
My phone's going off because the Phillies are playing the Braves, and a friend of ours is harassing me because she is everything I hate about Philadelphia sports fans.
I wonder who you could be talking about.
Yeah, I fucking wonder. Troy, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part, this is a good episode.
This is a really good end to the first season.
I do like, so what do we have here? We have the fight scene with, not Gandalf and the three other people.
The three white people.
We have, Halbrand and like his weird mind palace battle with Galadriel.
Galadriel?
It doesn't matter. They're all fake names.
Wow, racist.
And we have forging stuff. That's pretty much it. Oh,
There was also
you know
the
what I do
Numenor
have
stuff.
Numenor, sure, yeah.
The king has passed.
That's not my favorite stuff, though. I think my favorite stuff was I was like a little teary-eyed over all the Harfoot stuff between Sadok dying and
I didn't give a shit about him dying.
I was kind of into. I didn't really give a shit about him up until like this episode, and then Nori like leaving and saying goodbye to everybody, and like her moment with like Poppy and everything. It was that kind of hit me a little. So I was kind of into that. I think.
Yeah.
With Poppy, I was so convinced that Poppy was either gonna join along on that adventure as sort of like the Samwise to Nori's Frodo, or they were gonna kiss in that moment, and I would have been fine with either. And then she didn't go. I was like, this is also okay.
Am I wrong thinking that Nori kind of looks like Frodo a little bit?
I mean, a lot of halflings look alike just because
Wow.
they're all like...
Are you saying they all look the same? Jeff. Jeff's problematic.
Yeah, I
a
think
lot
it's
of
time
them
to
have
cancel
like the
Jeff.
same curly hair, and it's usually dark colored. Shut the fuck up, Troy. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no.
The characterizations of halflings are pretty similar.
There's a lot in like the eyes and the I mean, you just said the hair, but it's a lot in the eyes and the hair, I feel like.
I mean,
maybe she's
even
related
Poppy
to,
has some sort of resemblance to Samwise, where the hair is a little bit more reddish and they have a rounder face.
Yeah, there was definitely a conscious decision in that, I feel like.
I mean, sure, the casting department definitely did their fucking job. Let's not pretend like they didn't. No relation to Elijah Wood. There you go.
Did you seriously think that they were related?
No. I just wanted to eliminate all possibilities because my ADHD brain had a thought of like, what if? And I was like, what if, actually? No, they were born on completely separate continents even. So definitely not. But I'm very interested to see where Season 2 goes. I'm very, very interested to see where Season 2 goes. What if Season 2 ends with the Dwarven rings, you guys?
That'd be
Season
interesting.
3 is the men's rings. And then Season 4 is the One Ring. And then we have the battle for the what is it, the Second Age?
Like that?
I think the
battle to finish the Second Age, I think.
Yeah, I believe we're in the Second Age right now.
I once again ask, we talked about this before, do you think that this show is eventually going to go the distance into here is Hobbit and Lord of the Rings stuff? Like, whether there's time jump?
No, I
think
think it's going to end with the War of the Ring. Or rather,
yes.
The first War of the Ring.
Yeah, there's... because I don't know if it's called the War of the Ring exactly, but I do know that hobbits don't exist yet. Because as we discussed earlier in our podcast coverage, the Harfoots are kind of like a precursor to hobbits. They're kind of like evolved from, and there's a lot that would need to happen. It would need to be like 1,000-year time jump, and I don't necessarily want to see that. I'm very comfortable with what we have. I really like the characters we're given. I think the actors are doing fucking phenomenal in their roles. I love Celebrimbor, and I love how he's like touching the darkness and really enjoying it, and setting up that like bad guy arc for him to be the bad guy who crafts all these powerful rings and gives them away to people.
Also, we were complaining about not complaining about, but like we were talking about last time how Celebrimbor is like maybe the biggest figure other than Galadriel and Sauron in this series. Like, in terms of like history stuff, maybe Elrond, but maybe. I mean,
Gil-galad in the books is also the High King of the Elves. He's also a pretty fucking big guy. But he's not doing much in the show. Yeah,
but Celebrimbor is like a huge character that we've really never gotten on screen at all.
Nope.
And
unless you count the video games.
Yeah. But he wasn't really in the show, and then this episode he really gets a lot of screen time. You could say that he's no longer Celebrimbor anymore. We got Celebrimbor.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Are you guys feeling a little never mind. I was gonna put Sor into Celebrimbor's name.
Celebrimsor?
Yeah.
No. Just stop. If I was your DM, I would take away inspiration. I would make you roll at a disadvantage on your next thing.
Jeff, please. Rocks fall, everybody dies.
Jeff's really punching out the D&D stuff today. Is he trying to impress us?
No, it's the high fantasy is on my mind.
He's trying to impress me and Chris.
No, D&D doesn't impress people. It doesn't impress anyone I care about impressing.
Me and Chris are not people.
The only person I would care about impressing where D&D might come in handy is like Laura Bailey or Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can pull out of my ass that would impress either of them. So I don't give a shit. I'm not trying to impress anybody with D&D. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Well, and also, you don't want to impress me and Chris ever?
No. I don't give a shit at what you guys think.
All right, fair enough.
So let me get your thoughts on this stuff for the podcast. Troy, what did you dislike the most about this show?
About the show entirely?
Yeah, we're doing the whole thing as a whole basically at this point. Show's over. Season is over. Show's not over. Little correction there.
Man,
no, just awkwardly be silent.
Man, I
good,
really
good audio.
I liked a lot of it. I mean, we were talking about Theo wasn't like.
I mean, you don't have to dislike or hate any of it, but like I was just
there's
wondering
nothing,
if you had like any complaints.
There's nothing on the nose that I can really even.
Well, Jeff, you've been asking the question.
Of.
What did you dislike about this season?
I go last on purpose because I'm a long-winded fellow. The only complaint I really have is that the female dwarves didn't have beards.
Oh, who
Okay.
gives
And it was
a
only
fuck?
the one. And that's the only thing. Like that's the nitpickiest thing I can think of, but it's also the only complaint I have. I feel like everything was shot beautifully.
Oh yeah.
Everything looked straight out of Peter Jackson's universe, even though, as far as I know, he's never touched this show.
No, I don't think it's gonna. That's why I keep asking about the later on events, because I don't think it's gonna have any connection entirely. And I'm wondering.
I think it ends at the end of the second era or age.
Do you think?
Age. Yeah.
Do you think that they do? So my mindset with this is, do you think that Amazon would eventually want to have like a thing of like, we don't want this to connect into somebody else's universe that we didn't work on and have no relation to?
That sounds like a Bezos move.
Do you think that there's probably like another show at some point, right? Like, I feel like there's gonna be something.
A show about like the Third Age.
Yeah, something like.
Well, I mean,
that.
the third age is basically Peter Jackson's trilogy to a point.
Right.
Rather just
the
the
Third
Lord of the
Age
Rings.
starts right after the ring gets lost, and that would basically, if you were to do a Third Age thing, it would just follow like Gollum, I guess, or what's his fucking name? Smeagol.
Sure.
Is that his real name?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it follows Smeagol turning into Gollum, and then maybe redo The Hobbit correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Give me.
I mean, Hobbit as a TV show is probably a little bit better in a weird way.
Hobbit. It always fascinated me. They decided to do a trilogy out of the shortest of the 4 books, 5 if you count the Silmarillion. It was just fucking baffling to me. I never understood it.
The thing is, the book is so low stakes, and they had to bump it up to like super super high stakes and throw in like
5 armies. And Smaug, who's in the book, but not really that big.
Yeah, they kind of take the stuff and then they leave, and then that's it.
Yeah, because it's a hobbit versus a dragon, and you're not gonna win. So he's just sneaky beaky about it, and he just takes the shit and goes. Like,
why don't I think they do kill him, but it's
do they? I don't remember.
Yeah,
It's been years, man.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do shoot him with the arrow, but
even so, it didn't need to be 3 movies.
Well, the third movie literally has nothing to do with any of the books in general.
Yeah, except for him returning to the Shire. I love what they're doing with this. And also I believe we've mentioned this before. This show broke the record for most expensive television budget of all time at $58 million an episode. It shows. Like you see that $58 million. It's definitely there. There's a lot of actors who made money on this. There's a lot of props departments and costume departments and makeup and special effects and cinematography and set design. Everything that went into this show feels like a labor of love to the original trilogy and the original books. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out at least a couple of these actors aren't like huge ringheads and they've read like every fucking book a billion times in high school and they didn't get laid till they were 27. No, I'm kidding.
Jeff, we're not all you.
No, I'm not in 27 yet. What are you talking about?
Well,
shut the fuck up.
Soon. Jeff, you have about a month to lose your virginity.
I got bad news for you, man. I lied about my birthday. No, that's not the bad news. No, but I really, really, really loved this show, and it almost is a crime that people keep comparing it to House of the Dragons with Game of Thrones, just because they both happen to be prequels before giant properties.
Both fantasy.
They're both high fantasy. They both take place ages ago. They've got a couple characters in there that actually, there's no one in House of Dragons that we know from the show. There's a couple names we recognize, but we've never seen anything. It's just, this show should stand on its own 2 feet. And the fact that it got review bombed early on by just salty Tolkien fans, and the fact that it keeps getting compared unfairly to House of the Dragons. Not that it's not as good as House of the Dragons. I think it's way better. But it's just keeps getting compared when it should just be, look at how awesome this thing is. Let's all rejoice in this awesome show. Let's stop belittling its achievements and comparing it to others. Let's just enjoy it for what it is.
I still, just the other day, one of my coworkers, I was talking to somebody
you have
about
a job?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good.
I don't just do this. You don't take me out of the closet and hook me up, and I just start doing podcast stuff.
Like Megan?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, we saw a trailer for the movie Megan yesterday for.
We'll talk about that after the show.
God damn. But what was I saying? Oh, but I was talking to a coworker about the show. And then another coworker came over and was just like, "Oh, Lord of the Rings, like I heard that sucks." And I'm like, "No." And it's like,
I don't know who told you that, but they're lying and they hate you.
It's like a whole thing where I'm like, if you haven't like sat down, like given the show a shot, like a lot of people are only hearing the bad stuff about this show, and all the bad stuff of the show is not stuff that even exists.
No, it reminds me of like, even She-Hulk haters had like a grain of something.
Sure, I mean
CGI wasn't perfect.
Sure,
fine, but like
some of the writing's not always on point. Some of the jokes early on weren't the best. Like there's stuff to complain about with She-Hulk.
Excuse me, but like there's nothing to actually complain about in this show that I can see. Like the dialogue feels perfect. The scenes, the setting, everything feels straight out of Lord of the Rings. It feels like everything's just perfect.
And everybody's allowed to dislike good things. I've talked about on the show before. I'm not a big Matrix fan. I know people who.
I'm not a big Marvel Comics fan.
Mm-hmm. There's tons of people.
I'm not
who
a
don't
fan
like,
of TV or movies.
One thing.
Why are you here?
Because you fucking dragged me here.
One show that everybody was talking about was Arcane, and I watched like 2 episodes of it and was like, I don't think this is for me.
My fiance was obsessed with that show for a while.
Everybody but me.
It was like one of the biggest things in anime for like the past.
That was the League
year.
of Legends show, right?
Yes.
Yep.
But then
I just
the new Cyberpunk anime is probably on that same level.
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk, the video game?
Yeah, it got an anime.
They have an anime on.
Oh, its anime was fucking huge. It brought a whole new wave of life to that game.
Wow.
And people are making the terrible mistake to abbreviate it online, so they're talking all about watching CP anime.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's not what you should do. Yikes.
All right, folks, go out there and watch some CP.
Go. Nope. Chris's views do not review that of the TB&J podcast.
The CB&J podcast?
It's TB.
Definitely said CB.
Give the Cyberpunk anime a try. It's great.
I will. You were making a point.
But I was saying, like, I didn't really enjoy Arcane that much, but I'm not like, this show sucks and I don't understand why people like it. It was just like, you're allowed to do that with this show of like, I just wasn't feeling it. But people, the reactions and opinions on this show are wild.
I never begrudge anybody for hating on something that is popular, but don't hate it because it's popular.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's not even why people don't like this. It's
no, they hate this for bullshit reasons. Mm-hmm. I've never heard a single valid complaint about this show. Like, I've heard the black elves, I've heard the black halflings, and I've heard Galadriel is some like Stacy who's built up to be perfect in every way. She fucking befriended Sauron and brought him into the elves.
Yeah, it's so weird how this
show.
What a Mary
How
Sue!
Is she perfect?
The show's
Mary Sue. That's what it is.
The show's whole.
I said Stacy. I've been on r/incel too long.
They're both kind of interchangeable at this point. But they
I'm sorry to anyone out there.
Just wait till next season where she gets a haircut and she changes her name to Karen.
Oh,
but like this
Sauron, I must speak to your manager.
The whole point of this whole season is that everything's kind of her fault in a roundabout way, and now she has to deal with it. Like,
yeah,
if she was just like, I'm just gonna like chill out and not focus on any of this, like the Southlands would not be a fiery mess, and like we don't know if Sauron would have made it to shore.
Yeah, Sauron could have like never made it to shore. But on the flip side of that, the Rings of Power never would have been made.
Yep.
And the elves would definitely have left Middle Earth.
Well, yeah. Well, she's not a bad guy, and like we talked about this last time. We know that this is a tragedy show. Eventually, everything's gonna go wrong, and we know it will, because we know that there needs to be a conflict for the third age to happen. But like. You don't look at any of the decisions that anybody's making and you're like, oh, you're making a dumb decision because we have to get here for the third age. Everybody's making like pretty good decisions. You just know that it's going to go wrong because you know what the Lord, like if Lord of the Rings didn't happen, if that movie and those books don't exist, you would watch this and just be like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Like everybody's decisions seem pretty logical all the way through.
Oh, man. I'm so excited for season 2, guys.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking excited for season 2.
That being said,
yes,
I have the entire cast list pulled up. So I wanted to ask the both of you, who do you think, just name one person who you think was the best actor in this show?
Ooh.
Like, did the best job?
Markella Cavanaugh as Nori.
Okay. Yeah, she's great.
Nori Harfoot was fucking amazing. It really captured that innocence and also that like adventuring spirit and trusting outsiders and wanting to be more than just this tiny little podunk town or what I don't know, caravan, whatever the fuck they were. I absolutely loved her on screen whenever she was there. She was fucking incredible. I genuinely think whenever Nori Harfoot was on screen, she stole the scene from whoever we were supposed to focus on.
That's a good take too, because that whole subplot is very, very slow compared to the rest of the show.
Yeah,
and every plot is show because it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, everything takes time.
Every single episode, I talked about Elrond endurance. I'm gonna go Elrond.
All right, that is Robert Arameo.
Elrond is definitely my runner-up. I think either him or Galadriel. God damn, she was so good. Chris, who's yours?
I'm going to go with the one character who was in every single episode, and that is Morfydd Clark as Galadriel.
Yeah, Galadriel was fucking incredible as well.
She put so much fucking effort into her role. Any answer was
correct.
Any answer, honestly, is correct because there's not a single bad actor in this show. There's not a single person that came on screen and I was like, oh, this fucking guy. Or like, wow, you fucking suck at your job. Like, no, everyone was really, really good.
Yeah.
Even Theo was good at being a snot-nosed brat in the beginning.
For sure.
And then he had his glow up and became a soldier. And he has fucking Galadriel's sword now. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be a little soldier man. Fighting for the King of the Southlands.
I do want to give major props to Charlie Vickers, who plays Halbrand, for that amazing turn to Sauron.
Oh, I almost said him. Because of this episode.
Yeah, that was really, really good, too. Oh, that was really, really good. I'm looking at the cast list as well. A lot of these actors are unrecognizable out of makeup. Like Owain Arthur, who plays Prince Durin, he just looks like a dude.
Yep.
And then you see Prince Durin, and he's just like, he's Prince Durin. With the massive orange beard and the brows and the nose and everything. And all that's just fake. He's just a handsome Scottish man sitting here on the other side of the screen. But then you have other actors like Charles Edwards, and I'm like, yeah, that's Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
That's definitely Celebrimbor.
His ears are even pointy.
Yeah.
There's so many good fucking actors in this show.
Yeah, dude. This show was fucking incredible. And I loved that they didn't have, like, one guy who we all would have, like, recognized that would have, like, drawn attention away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Will Smith.
Yeah. Something like that. I'm glad that nothing like that happened. I
think the actor
for Chris Pratt.
Oh my god! I think the actor for Sadik, Lenny Henry, is gonna have his choice of fucking roles after the season.
A lot of these actors are, especially
Well,
fucking.
most of them are probably going to have to be, rehired to keep doing this show. Lenny Henry has the wonderful benefit of having died his character.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Some of these people died in the show. I'm surprised Arendir lived.
I'm surprised that Isildur died for real.
Yeah, Isildur is definitely dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was very surprised that... One, we actually didn't see anything of the people in the Southlands in this episode.
No, we didn't, and we also have no idea. I'm wondering if he's gonna do like what they did in Game of Thrones, where the Hound was left for dead, and then we cut back to him later, like in the next season, and he's just like with this little community, just chopping logs, frying fish, and just being a regular Joe, just being a guy. And it's like, oh yeah, the Hound, he's still around. That's
Joe
neat.
being a guy, being a dude.
Yeah, it's just guys being dudes, dudes being guys.
All right.
Well,
I have nothing
locker
else to
room
say
talk.
about this episode and series aside from perhaps a letter grade.
I hate to say it. Amazon's kind of killing it.
Yeah, Amazon. Between The Boys, Invincible, Lord of the Rings,
Mhm.
I have yet to watch a stinker from them.
I mean, it's hard to miss when you can shell out the most fucking money of any TV show ever.
Can you? I feel like if anyone's writing blank checks, it's Disney.
Well,
Bezos-
Disney can and isn't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Yeah,
And I like all the Disney shows so far, and I still am like, yeah, but they're like, you know what they are.
Could you imagine if they gave She-Hulk like a fraction of this budget?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so we
Spend
are
money
down
making me.
to letter grades, and we will go from furthest from me first. So that's Chris.
This is gonna get an A+. I will go out of my way to watch the next season, regardless of if we cover it or not.
Ooh, high praise from the hermit who hates watching things. Troy.
I'm gonna go with D. I'm not really feeling that. I'm
What an
also
asshole.
gonna go A+. I think.
You're gonna go A+.
I think I am gonna go A+. I feel like we haven't really had any major complaints about this show, and I'm once again I'm on the same boat as Chris. If I will probably watch this either way, and I might go as far as saying I might rewatch this series just to be like, how badly does Halbrand? I couldn't think of his name. Halbrand suck.
You know what's funny? I am going to have to rewatch this series because I was watching it with my fiance,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually she fell behind, and I had to keep going for the podcast, so she just stopped watching. So I'm going to have to rewatch it to bring her back up to speed, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I will gladly watch this show again. It's an A+ for me as well. This show is going to be probably the gold standard we're going to hold everything else to as far as dramas go on this podcast, because they did 8 hours and change of storytelling, and it felt like so much more. And it really, really just flew by.
Mm-hmm.
Like episodes would end, and I'd be like, "Wait, really? It's done?" And then it's like 85 minutes, and I'm just like, "No shit."
I actually had
No
I
fucking
actually
way.
had the opposite thing with this episode because it concludes the Harfoot storyline. I'm just like, oh, I guess that's the show. And then I look at the time, and there's still half an episode to go. I'm just like, the fuck?
Before the Harfoot stuff, Galadriel had to sacrifice her brother's dagger to create the rings, and we hadn't gotten conclusion on that yet. And that was still nagging in the back of my head. So I was like, there's no way they go out on that. There's no way we don't see a ring. So the Harfoot shit happened. I'm like, that's nice. I want to see a ring now, please. This show is fucking amazing. I don't know who is out there shitting on Lord of the Rings. I don't know if it's because you just hate Jeff Bezos. I don't know if it's because you hate
that's
black
valid.
people.
That's not valid.
I don't know if it's because you just hate leading women.
Also not valid.
Just watch the fucking show and shut up. It's so good. It's so fucking good, you motherfucking hating pieces of shit.
Even if you're a Lord of the Rings absolute purist, this is still a fantastic Lord of the Rings property that puts so much effort into making this a Lord of the Rings world.
Yeah, it's truly the meme of the King Ghidorah heads where it's two cool heads and it's this show and Lord of the Rings and then the Hobbit's the other one.
Yeah, it's definitely that. All right, that concludes this episode of the TB&J podcast. It also concludes Lord of the Rings of Power for now.
Forever.
We'll see you next season.
She-Hulk has wrapped. House of the Dragons is about to wrap. D and I will be covering that. And stay tuned for whatever we do next.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it pop up in your feed when it happens. That's it. That's all I got. So now let's enjoy this musical piece written by my friend Justin.
Just in time.
Froyo, give me